Welcome to Soul Rising. We're your hosts, Amy and Erin. We're two everyday mediums who are passionate about taking the woo-woo out of spirituality and bringing it down to earth. So put the kettle on, grab a chair, and join us.
Welcome to Soul Rising. I am
Welcome.
Amy.
I'm Erin.
And this is episode 18. Can you believe it? That's crazy. 18 episodes.
Yeah, I know.
And celebrate that. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that's awesome. Like we sat on this for so long and wanted to do it, and we just did it. And now
I'm like so grateful that you reached out and wanted me to be a part of this. And it's been the thing that I look forward to always.
Even in your busy week.
Even when I'm busy, I'm like, I need because this is my break time. I'm like, I want to just chat with Amy and chat with all of you.
That's actually a perfect segue to what we're going to talk about today, which is human design.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I know nothing. I mean, that's not true. I read up a little bit about human design, but I'm coming at this maybe similar to most folks listening. I know nothing about human design, whereas Amy, you've been studying it for a while now, right? You've taken a few courses.
Studying it since last spring, so we're probably around 9 or 10 months. By self-study I mean like I've got the books with all the highlights and the post-its. I've done my whole family's chart. I do some clients' charts once in a while, because the interesting thing is how this came into my awareness was last spring, maybe like in May into June. I would notice this theme started to happen for me with when I was doing intuitive guidance readings.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of picking up on this information. And around this time I had kind of started to become aware of human design. And I think I might have followed a couple human design accounts on Instagram. So I had a very bare bones understanding of it. But what I did understand about it, I was starting to see a correlation between what I knew about it and some of the things that were coming through channeled. And so I just took a chance one day and I was like, by any chance, do you know what your human design is? Do you happen to be a generator? And she's like, I have no idea, but that's something I'm interested in too. So how about if I let you know after the reading? And she did, and she was. And then this happened over and over and over again. And so I'm like, okay.
Something to this.
There's something to this. I need to look into it more. So I bought the books, and I've just been down the rabbit hole ever since, because I find it so interesting.
It is really interesting. I love all this psychology, some of the psychology behind some of these.
Absolutely. And that's really what it is. And the reason that I brought up a minute ago why I said that was a perfect segue, when you said you kind of look forward to it. It's not really like work. It's more like something that you're willing to give your free time up for. And you are a generator, Erin. I'm a generator as well. And generators are really they've been called the worker bees of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are here. They have a lot of energy. They have a lot of sustainable energy, but only when they are doing things that they are lit up by. So when you're lit up by something, it's like you could just go all night, right? It's almost hard to turn it off.
And we know it's hard to turn us off when we get to chatting.
Still, say that it's because for us this lights us up, and our work lights us up, and this the things that we talk about light us up. So that's really why I said that was a perfect segue. But I'm going to start quickly.
The little introduction about human design.
Yeah. So human design really came about in the late 80s. There was this gentleman, and I'm hoping I pronounce his name right, Ra Uruhu. Ra. I'll just call him Ra from here on out. Not his birth name, but this was a name that he had, given himself after his experience, basically downloading, channeling the human design system. So he's a Canadian. He was born Alan Krakauer in Montreal. He was a businessman, not, from what I understand, not really into anything spiritual.
Yeah.
It mainly was kind of logical left brain businessman. And in the 80s, he found himself in Ibiza in Spain teaching. And while he was there, he had this mystical experience for 8 days and 8 nights, in which he felt that he was, receiving a message, channeling from something that he called the voice. And he knew that it was like a far superior intelligence than, humans.
Yeah.
Or any human that he had ever met.
Came from someplace greater.
Someplace else, right?
Someplace else, yeah.
Someplace else. And he was absolutely transformed by the experience and felt like this was his life's work. So he was just, really lit up by it.
Lit up by it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting that he had this like mystical experience that sort of, I wonder what that mystical experience looked like.
Yeah, I wonder too. I wonder if it just happened. I'll have to do more research around that. I don't know if he was just, sitting around or if he was trying to get into a meditative state. Like, I don't know how it came about. But interesting enough, gene keys, which I won't talk about today because it's kind of like a next level to human design. They can often be together. Like you can learn
they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
the gates in human design, which we will talk about today, are called gene keys in here. And this has just kind of a more spiritual spin on it. But Richard Rudd is from the UK, and he also channeled this system.
Wow.
So I think that's very interesting too. And from my understanding of Richard Rudd, he also was not naturally somebody that was looking or intending to channel or have a mystical experience. So I think that's really cool.
Well, that's really cool. I feel like we can both kind of relate to that.
Yeah, because both of our kind of abilities or gifts kind of just dropped in and came in. We weren't really seeking for them or seeking them, right? Yeah. So human design really combines 4 ancient teachings, astrology. So this is something that you do need your birth information for. So
your time of birth.
Yeah.
Date.
In order to get really, really super specific, the time of birth is important. But if you don't know it, we can put like 12 noon in and it will still be, for the most part, pretty accurate. Your type and stuff won't change.
Right. Okay.
So it's astrology and Kabbalah, the I Ching system, as well as the chakra system. And it's just a combination of all of it. It's really interesting. It's often been dubbed the new astrology, or an intersection of science and spirituality.
It's really cool.
Yes. This happened in 1987. And then he dedicated the next 25 years of his life developing and teaching the system around the world.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a synthesis really of ancient and modern sciences. And the purpose of it really is it offers insights into your energetic psychology or your energetic blueprint. And it gives you strategies and techniques that would help you make the right decisions for you.
Yeah.
Which ultimately would lead to a life of ease or more ease when you feel like life is working with you and for you and in like less resistance.
A feeling of fulfillment.
Absolutely.
Almost, yeah.
Like when things, sometimes we'll say like, oh, I was just in the right place at the right time. Yeah, maybe. But I feel like the more that I learn and adapt my own strategies, the easier things feel for me. So there is something to it. And this is like widely popular. There is so much information out there. There are so many Instagram accounts and people that teach this and that offer it as a service. So you can literally just search in Instagram for like a generator and you will find a ton through that hashtag, or even just human design. So yeah, I think it's a really valuable tool. I certainly am lit up by it, and I think it's really interesting. So
Yeah.
what you'll do, the website that I like to use is called mybodygraph.com.
Right.
Is free. Erin and I went there earlier and put her information in her chart. So maybe we can take a screenshot of that without giving, the personal information about Erin, and put it up on the the Instagram page for our Soul Rising account, just so you can kind of have an idea of what it looks like.
It's really interesting. It looks super confusing because all you see is an outline of a figure, of a human figure, and then and I can see where the chakras comes in, because it almost has that exact same image of like that figure, and then the chakras all the way down.
Yeah.
And then on the sides, it looks like it's got the that's where astrology comes in, which is really cool. It looks like it looks intense, but when you, and I think Amy, we'll talk about a little bit more, but when you sort of look at it and break it down, it's not as complex.
It looks like a lot of information all at once.
Yeah.
And so we can get overwhelmed by it, but we just need to break it down by little chunks. And often people will say the most important thing to learn about yourself really is knowing what your type is and your strategy. And even if you knew those two things, you would be better off in kind of understanding yourself. All the other pieces are kind of next level understanding, and they are valuable. I actually found learning about all the gates and what they mean to be extremely enlightening for me, and made a lot of sense to me. But don't get overwhelmed. Try not to get overwhelmed. It looks like a lot, but
one step at a time.
Absolutely. So when I wish I had a printed chart here. I did have one, and I don't know where it is, but the chart will have looks like a body.
Yeah.
Okay, like the shape of a body and outline. And then it's got little triangles, squares, and they are called centers. Okay. So really the first thing that I wanted to talk about are defined versus undefined, and what that means. So a defined center simply means that one of those shapes for you that we just talked about is colored in. That means it's defined, and that means that you have consistent energy throughout your life in those places.
Interesting.
And it determines how you express your particular traits and skills. If you're undefined, so if you're somebody that has a lot of not colored in centers, which Erin, you have more undefined than I do. So I only have 2 undefined centers in my chart, and you have 5.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So, not a lot colored in.
So actually, I've kind of heard people say that the undefined centers can be thought of as our gifts.
Okay.
So anything not colored in is undefined. It does reveal, though, where you are susceptible to conditioning. And it can result in what human design will call the not self.
Right.
Which we'll get into in a moment. That openness, that undefinedness represents where you can be designed to be receptive to life. So that's why it can be seen as a gift. You need really to lean into discernment in order to see, like, if you use your strategy and your authority, which we'll get to in a moment, then it's easier for you to discern between what's your not self and what's aligned with you, and the more you lean into your strategy, the more you will be receptive to life. So you can really learn a lot in those places. And so it's the openness can be really interesting to the mind and the ego, because they are so sensitive to conditioning.
Right.
So your ego, your mind will try to find some adaptive strategies to lead you away from your true nature, and that's the non-self. So for a generator like Erin and I,
Mm-hmm.
the not self is frustration. So because we talked about a generator is here to work and do the work, um, but needs to really be careful about what they are doing to make sure that the work is lighting them up rather than draining.
Yeah.
When we do work that lights us up, you think of our aura, our energy is just that much more impactful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like it's
Absolutely.
amplified.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important. Um,
And would you say that's true for all of the what do they call all of the categories or all of
all of
the
types.
types?
The types, yeah. So each type will have um, a different, sorry, what's the word?
Like
Strategy. Sorry.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the 4 types. We've got the generators and the manifesting generators.
Cool.
They are slightly different, but basically at the root, very similar. They make up 70% of the population. So, you know, a lot of us here, I think it's almost equal 35-35 for generators and
A lot of us.
manifesting
Yeah.
generators. Generators are said to be the OGs, like around at the very beginning. And then Erin brought in an interesting point that she had read earlier about you reading like manifestors and generators and
Yeah, that so manifestors were manifestors and generators, and I think the other types that we'll get into were around in like the 1700 or like way back when we were still figuring out how to navigate in society and how to build and to like live in this materialistic world.
they're
And
the
so
builders, the
so
workers and builders. Yeah.
well, yeah, we were the builders, and so the manifestors were like the leaders. They were putting out these ideas, and then the generators, and I guess the manifest generators were the ones who were putting their ideas and building on those ideas out into the world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the
and then
generators and the manifesting generators have sustainable energy.
mhm,
The other types, to my understanding, do not have as much sustainable energy.
energy,
Yeah.
right?
Um, yeah. Okay. So 70% of the population, our strategy is to respond to things. So, you know, that can come in the form of, oh, this lights me up. This is interesting to me. Or for me, oh, you know, the universe keeps dropping in this information when I'm doing readings. I need to respond to it.
Right.
Or I read something and it just hits a certain way. Or I hear somebody say something. I'm like, oh, that's what we need to respond. So sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to kind of get the ball rolling, you know, because we need something to respond to. And that's why it's so important to be following the things that light you up
Yeah. Yeah.
and making sure you're doing things, you know, because you actually love and enjoy it. And I know it's not reasonable to think that 70% of the population is going to spend all their time doing what they love, because there's a lot of stuff we have to do. We have responsibilities we're not going to love, right? But one thing I've learned is like, even if we kind of, you know, the ratio of the more that we do what we love, even, you know, if it's like we can take 40% of our day and then 60 doing the other stuff we don't necessarily love,
Yeah.
the energy carries over and gives us some motivation to do it. But we really need to prioritize the things that we are interested in, the things we're really lit up by. It's really important that we do that.
Yeah. It sounds like it's all about maintaining balance within.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Which is, yeah, and you know, there's so many of us generators, and you think about society and how society works, and we do things maybe out of sense of obligation, or we do a job because that's where the money is, or that's what our parents did, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And how that just really is not going to work for a generator. And generator, the 70% of the population, which, you know, you understand why so many people are burnt out and why things aren't really working out that great.
That's true. Or why we're out of balance.
Yeah, think about how much more impactful I mean, because you can feel the energy when somebody's doing something and they really like it.
Oh, well, that's the thing when I'm sure everyone for the most part can relate to it, when you have like a really good teacher that is
Yeah.
passionate about the work, and that passion you thrive off. I like feed off that energy, and you begin to love that teacher. You want to go to class more, right? Whereas you can tell, and I've got one right now that is super burnt out, and you just can tell, right?
But that's what you would think of. Like, I know each type has a different strategy, but in general, if you think about your not self, it's just kind of like it just doesn't feel as good. Therefore, you're not as impactful.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do. And so that's why I find this so valuable to know. So yeah, a strategy for manifesting generators and generators is to respond to life. Our aura as generators are open and enveloping. Okay, so very open. And we're here to learn about ourselves as generators. Our signature, which could be said as when things are going good, when you're feeling aligned, is satisfaction. So if you are living with your strategy, which is part of the puzzle, part of the piece here, if you are responding to life, therefore you're not having to always it's about not forcing, right? And I think that this is why our work is so perfect for us, because we can't force this. It just comes and we respond to it. But if it came to the day, if we were trying to do something and we're just like, it's just not here and I can't, there's just nothing, you can't force it.
No,
right?
Exactly.
But if we did, it would lead to our not self, which is frustration.
Yeah.
So for generators, for manifesting generators, for those of you listening, when things are going good for you, you're going to feel naturally satisfied with life. When you're feeling a lot of frustration, it means there is something in your life that needs to change, in terms of maybe you're trying to start something and you don't have the inspiration at the moment. Maybe you need a little bit more clarity. Maybe, you just need to respond to something to give you that hit so that that's the thing.
Yeah.
So you just wait for it and it will come. But if you're forcing as a generator, it's a pretty good sign you're not in alignment. There shouldn't be any force, because we're like this, workhorses, like we can go and go and go and go when we're doing what we're supposed to do. So it's really important. Then we've got projectors. So one of my kids are projectors. One of the newer types to come along. Their strategy is to wait for the invitation. So their aura for projectors is focused and absorbing. And they're here to learn about and understand others. Their signature, when things are going well, is success. And their not self is bitterness. Almost like, I know I can help. I know I can do this, but somebody's maybe like not responding to it. Somebody's not getting it. Somebody's not receiving it. So it could make you feel that way a little bit, is how I feel. I can see that in my son, who's a projector.
It's interesting. It's interesting to be able to see your children.
Yeah, it's very helpful actually in parenting.
Yeah, I was gonna
it really is.
You understand yourself a little bit better with this kind of stuff, but you're able to understand your children and help and support them in the ways that they need. Yeah,
because my husband and I are generators. And then we've got a projector. And then our other two are manifestors, which we're about to get to.
That's really
so it's a whole lot of stuff happening in this household, and we're all kind of doing it differently. We have different ways of being. Manifestors, about 9% of the population, their strategy is to inform before they act. So they're the like initiators, right? They're like the go-get-ems. Like I got this idea. I intuitively know that this is what we need collectively. I'm doing it. But all they need to do in order for other people to receive that is just to give a heads up, to inform. Inform, this is what I'm doing. They're better received when they do that. So their not self is anger, right? Because they can kind of initiate. They're initiators, so sometimes if you're initiating, And you've got this kind of, their aura is closed and repelling, and that's not meant as a bad thing. It's just, I almost view it as like a protection thing so that other people can't project onto them as much,
Right. Yeah.
because they have such strong, like this, I know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay. So their not self-theme is anger.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And their signature is peace. They are here to understand their impact on other people. We need manifestors in the world. You can see how we need all of us, right? It's
Absolutely.
it's just, I feel like it's so helpful for me to know that I need to respond to things and to recognize when the universe is giving me something to respond to. It can be just an idea that pops in. And if it feels right, if you kind of get like oh, there's something there for it, that's all it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to respond to something. Yeah. So then let's go to reflectors. I only know one reflector. I only know one. Less than 1% of the population. These people will have no definition in their chart, no colored in centers, all open. So very susceptible to conditioning. Okay. A friend of mine, I won't give any details about her, but she is the only reflector I know. And I have done readings for her before I even knew she was a reflector. I kept feeling almost like this, like she was a barometer or the collective. Like, I'm here to literally mirror to you what isn't working, and then to mirror to you what is working.
That's pretty powerful.
It's very cool. It's very cool. So their strategy, ours is to respond. Theirs is literally to wait a full lunar cycle. Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
They just need to wait more time than the rest of us. And maybe it's because there's so much potential for conditioning.
Yeah, I was going to say they feel all of that energy. Yeah.
There's more to work through to get to the
Take your time with things.
Yeah. So if you're a reflector, it's really important that you make time. Give yourself time to make decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And obviously these aren't like, absolutes. These are kind of guidelines. If a reflector is like, okay, well, I've made the decision after 2 weeks. Well, obviously you don't have to wait a full lunar cycle.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The lunar cycle has not finished yet. I need time.
Not here.
Tell your bosses that, reflectors.
I know, right? So funny. Their aura is resistant and sampling. So that's the mirror piece, right? It's like, I'm going to try this out, see if it works. Oh, no, that doesn't work. So their signature is surprise, kind of like surprise and delight. Like, oh, I feel a lot of innocence when I connect to reflector energy.
Yeah,
it's very innocent.
Well, when you think about like, a child is similar in the way where when you come into this world, you're
open to all of it.
You're open to all of it, right? You're absorbing so much information, so I can definitely see that. Yeah.
And their not self is disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which also makes me think of that innocence too, where you're like, oh, like, I don't know. It just makes me feel I
automatically feel like disappointment sometimes. Well, that makes me feel like disappointment in society, or when things, you're disappointed in the outcome maybe of something. It wasn't what you had hoped for or expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So reflectors are like, just from my experience with the person that I do know, and again, without getting too personal, like, either are going to feel real good with somebody or not
good,
right? Because they have none of this conditioning, so they are just almost like like the BS detector. Like, this is, I see right through you. Like, this is just nope.
That's not for me.
Image. Yes. Yeah. So it's really important, I feel like, for reflectors, especially, to know that about themselves and to trust, okay, like, no, this is not working for me. I don't need to force. I don't need to do this. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about inner authority, because I talked a little bit about it. It's kind of tapped into strategy. Strategy and inner authority kind of go together. These are the most important things, I think, of all the whole chart. So again, for generators, it's to respond. Projectors is to wait for the invitation. Manifestors to inform, and reflectors to wait, for that full lunar circle. So inner authority. So we all have an inner authority. This kind of is based off of the body graph chart. All of those centers represent different things. The inner authority is your inner intelligence. It's that inner compass.
Okay.
It will tell you whether a decision is right or wrong for you. And it's really body based. It's not mind based. It's really innate. It's in your body.
I like that. Yeah.
It precedes the mind, and trusting it requires you to listen to your body more. And
shouldn't we all listen to our bodies more?
Absolutely.
I think?
Yeah. And then I added in a little Ra quote. Ra, the original guy, the OG who brought this to life, was what you can trust to make decisions, and it is never the mind. That's what he said about the inner authority. It's what you can trust to make decisions. It's never this.
Yeah.
So we've got solar plexus, emotional authority. Erin and I both have emotional authority. Emotional authority means that you really, feel the ups and downs. You ride the waves of emotion. You kind of like this. This is just how it is. It's how you're made. And, we don't need to get lost in it or judge it or internalize it. It just is. But that also means the power in knowing this is like the guidance that he gives is, if you have emotional authority, you should wait to ride out the emotional wave before you make a decision.
Well, I can definitely see how that resonates with me for sure.
Because you might say like, sure, I'll do that. And then tomorrow you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You just give yourself permission. It's like you sleep on it.
To wait. Yeah.
And I truly find the more, like for me, from personal experience, the more that I live with, the more I adapt to and, embody that emotional authority and my strategy of waiting to respond.
Yeah.
The emotional clarity comes quicker. The emotional wave is less of it shortens the length for me. So I did a workshop on this once, and I said, I always listen to my intuition and hear a gut yes or no right away, but I'm an emotional authority. So am I doing it wrong? And she said, no, it means that you are operating on like next level of your inner authority. And you can trust that yes or no right away.
Yeah.
But it's just next level. But I think in general, we should give ourselves a day or a night or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. Give yourself a little bit of time, or even if you feel, maybe that's the difference of like, if you feel even like the slightest bit of hesitation, yes.
Yeah.
Then that's maybe your body's way, right?
Absolutely.
Telling you to take time with it.
And that's what was just coming in was like, about, what was I just going to say? Responding.
Yeah.
Maybe, if the answer isn't immediately like, yes, just wait until your body responds and you hear it. But the more that you kind of know that about yourself, I think the more, the better you'll get at understanding that, because so many of us are disconnected from our body. So to hear like, oh, our authority comes from our body, like, okay, that's the challenge. But that also is such a turning point, I feel, in doing this. So then we got sacral authority. We've got splenic authority. Splenic is your spleen. That's the gut yes or no.
Okay, I like that word.
Splenic. I like it too. So for me, the reason that maybe I lean on that gut yes or no more often than waiting all the time for emotional clarity is because in my spleen center, which on yours is on the bottom left, looks like a triangle.
Right.
I have all but one of those numbers highlighted, which you have 2 of them. I've got all but one highlighted, which means I have all but one gates in the spleen activated.
Oh,
And I feel like that's why maybe I can do the like,
you just do it. Yeah.
yeah. So you've got 2
Interesting.
in there. Yeah, it's interesting.
Do the numbers mean anything?
Absolutely. Those are gates.
Okay.
Yeah, those are gates. And those, for me, it was the most interesting part. But again, that might be like
I'm gonna
overwhelming.
make note of that. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I did
we only
take
have so
note-
much time. We could
Absolutely.
probably have like, various.
Did take note of your channels though. I'm not going to get into all your gates today, but I will explain what a gate is. And I did take note of your channels because you only have 3 channels. So I felt like I could talk about them. Okay, we got splenic. So we got solar plexus, sacral, splenic, self-authority, and then none, which would be a mental projector or a reflector. Like I said, they don't have any body authority.
Color.
Okay, then we've got definitions. So Erin, you're, if you look on your chart, it says where your chart properties are on my body graph. It says that, let me see. Your definition is single definition. Do you see where it says that? Underneath your signature.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that means that there's a continuous connection between like a center, 2 centers. There's something connected, one continuous, and I see it. It's on the very bottom. The spleen, see the 18 connects to the 58, and 41 connects to the 30. That's one continuous.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Interesting.
So that's really like it's continuous energy. Okay. Mine is split definition, which means I have 2 centers like that are connected. And you can also have triple and very rarely quadruple.
Wow.
Which is 4. Yeah. So then we've got profiles. Now, profiles was one of my favorite things to learn about. So on your body graph where it has your chart information, you will see under your authority, it says profile, and then it's got 4, 6.
4 to 6.
Opportunist role model.
Yeah.
So I think there are 12 profiles, but just further nuances in your design. So yes, we're both generators, but we have different definitions. We have different gates and different channels.
Yeah.
And that number, that 4, 6 is based on those gate numbers. So if you look at the numbers that run in the column on both sides, we'll start at the top. You've got 18.6 and 58.4. So all those numbers after the decimal point, like 0.6, 0.6, 0.1, 0.1, the 4, 6 comes from those, depending on what you have the most of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's just another interesting nuance to it. It can be seen, your profile can be seen as the costume you wear while you're learning your specific role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says in the metaphor of the movie, when you have a role, you find your purpose. Finding your role is what you achieve when you transcend the attributes and characteristics of your design and live out your cross and profile as yourself.
Yeah. Now I had written down, I was going to talk about your profile, but I wrote down the wrong profile.
Oh no.
I wrote down that you were a 3-5, but you're a 4-6. I can't talk about the 4. I don't know enough about it. But what I do know about the 6 part is that 6s are really, there's a lot of trial and error.
Yep.
There's a lot of, I'm going to see if this works. Okay, it doesn't work. I kind of was reading like up until the, maybe the 30s or so, it's a lot of trial and error. And then throughout the 30s, into later age, you're kind of getting your bearings, you're kind of understanding things a little bit more. And then usually after middle age, they say I forget the term, it's like on the roof. I think what it is what he calls it. It's almost like this guide energy. You're really meant to do all this trial and error and figure out what works, what doesn't for you, because when you're doing that for you, you're doing it for the collective. And then to take all that lived experiences and do something with it for the collective. So there's a guide kind of teachery energy that comes through, but it's later in life. And so, you know, it's okay to start and stop things. If you got a 6 in your profile,
thank you.
you're going to be, you're learning how to master. You will get there when you get there.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Not you.
That's really
I wish
interesting.
I had more to say about that.
Oh, that's okay. Listen, that little tidbit was amazing. Yeah, I think what we can do is like link the mybodygraph.com for folks too, so that y'all can go and like check it out, because it's just interesting. And I had no idea, you know, about the colors and what's not colored and the numbers.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to get whatever book you have.
Yeah, this is called Understanding Human Design. This is by Karen Curry Parker. She is on Instagram. She has an amazing human design Instagram page. This has everything you need. If you're interested in like learning about every gate that you have, that would be where you want to go. So then we'll quickly talk about the columns.
Mm-hmm.
So the columns are the two, red on the left, black on the right, on each side of the body graph. Mm-hmm. The red side is called the personality side, or sorry, the design side.
Okay.
Some people will refer to it as the unconscious side, and the black is the personality or the conscious side. So the red numbers, the design side, represents your unconscious behaviors, attributes, and needs. Everything on the red side, okay?
Yeah.
It's calculated, all those things are calculated approximately 89 days before birth, is what I read. Because you'll notice in your information, where it's got your birth date, your birth data, right? And then underneath it says your design date, and it's a different date than your birthday. It's October 1st for you. Mine is in October too. Mine's like October 8th or something. A lot of my my stuff over there will be Libra based, because that's the time of year that date falls in. So you'll be very similar to me there as well. This is the nature of your unconscious, you know, the subconscious, all of that stuff. If you want to do some shadow work, look at the red column in your chart. That's where all that is. It's your biogenetic inheritance, you know, the things, ancestral healing, all those things are going to be over there. The black side is your personality, or your conscious. So these things you're going to be more aware of probably in your lifetime about yourself. They represent themes, attributes, behaviors that you'll recognize and identify with. They're calculated at the moment that you're born. You have conscious access to all these, and these are like who you think you are. The other side is maybe who you don't know. Like these are things you don't know or things you don't want to know.
Right.
But it's all what you need to do here. Then we've got an incarnation cross. So these are the big ticket items that I feel like
Ooh, I didn't even see that incarnation.
Yeah, so the incarnation cross is calculated. So if you see at the top, we've got on the one side, on the red side, the top number is your unconscious sun, and the top number on the left side is your conscious sun, and then underneath that is your unconscious earth, and then over there is your conscious earth. So those are your big four, and those are the numbers that are used to calculate your incarnation cross.
Ooh.
It's basically a calculation of your personality and your design, earth and suns. It represents 70% of the imprinted and consistent energy in your being. So if you're going to learn anything other than, hey, I'm a generator, I should wait to respond and I should wait for emotional clarity, dig deep into what your incarnation cross is. It's said to be like the plot line, the storyline of your life, where you can learn the most.
Wow. I'm going to highlight that.
Yeah. It ultimately defines the path or purpose in this lifetime. So I also made note of that. It will slowly emerge over time. Okay, so when I read mine, I was kind of like, I don't know. Like I could see myself in it, but not fully. It will slowly emerge over time as you live in unison, as you adopt, as you, really embody your strategy and your authority. These things will kind of naturally come into play. This is really consistent energy in your lifetime. And also, if you kind of look back over your life, you might see that common thread running through maybe things that didn't work out or did work
That's
out.
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
And it, interestingly enough, too, it says it often comes into play around your Uranus return, which I just got over 38 to 42. I'm 42 now. I feel like I just went through this. Some people will call this the beginning of a midlife crisis. It's really when all these desires and goals and dreams that are unfinished
come back
up, because kind of like, SHIT or get off the pot. It's time. It's time.
Yeah.
And so this being the plot line, the story of your line of your life, it would make sense that these things would come up at that time. So yours is the right angle cross of service. And what I wrote down about this was this cross will bring you an interesting blend of the love and I took this right off the site, I should say, bring you an interesting blend of the love and beauty and life and energy to correct logical process. This correction is an important process in our world because it helps change patterns and moves us towards making progress. The finding beauty aspect in life may make some people envious as they want access to that energy to utilize it more in a practical or as a practical correction. Your drive is to use the energy for less practical manners and more aesthetic or spiritual things. So that's interesting, but definitely to be of service. And I think that will make a little bit more sense in a minute when I talk about your specific channels, because you have 3. So yeah, I just took notes about the different centers.
Wow.
I think that might be next level, so we'll talk about it maybe another time.
Yeah.
Okay, so the channels. Let's end with channels and gates.
Okay.
So the channels are, so if you're looking at your chart, there's lines that connect all of these centers. Think about them like veins, because they kind of look like that.
They look like veins.
They're lines that connect all the different centers together. And some of them have no color, and some of them have color. Some of them are full color all the way across. Some of them are just half done. Some of them are red. Some of them are black. So the red would represent coming from the unconscious side. Conscious. And that, is really consistent energy. Lifetime consistent energy. So a channel is composed of 2 gates. Gates are numbers. So you got to have 2 gates. The channel connects them. And this is like thought of as communication between those centers. This is how they communicate to each other. Wow. And each channel represents a specific theme or essential aspect of experiencing life as a human. So I just want to point out that although we don't have every single gate highlighted in our chart, we still experience every single gate because we're human and we have access to every single gate. All it means is the ones that are highlighted for you are ones that are just maybe these themes that show up all the time and that are consistent. It doesn't mean you don't experience the others. Yeah. And similarly to astrological time, each gate will go in transit at certain times. Like I believe that gate 13 is in transit right now, and you do have that gate. So what that means is when the gate is in transit, whatever that gate, that channel represents might be amplified for you at that time.
And you mean transit like in the planets and the system? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So each of these numbers have, a time period associated with them. Oh. Based on where they are. In the year. Yeah. So
Whoa.
then the gates can be seen as the entry and exit points that establish the flow between the centers. So the gates are the numbers again. They are activated on the side. So in the columns, we talked about the red and the black. They are activated by a planet. So when we talked about the sun and the earth are those top four, and then underneath you've got north node, south node, moon, Mercury, Venus, all the way through. So that's just another next level of understanding. If you wanted to take it and go, okay, what do I know about Jupiter? Okay, this is what I know about Jupiter. What do I know about gate 6? Okay, combine. There's going to give you a lot of information there.
Wow. Yeah.
Of how you can use that. That's next level. That's something that I'm learning about right now, and it blows my socks off, especially North Node. So then finally,
Wow.
Oh, here's a good. I took notes actually what all the planetary keynotes are. And for North Node, it says the line of geometry where you're going. The South Node is where you came from. Yeah, the moon represents your feelings, instincts, change your body. All of these things. I will take a note of this and I will post this on the Instagram page as well. So if you guys do your chart, then you can compare and go, okay, like what is my sun? And then what does that number represent? It's very easy to Google these things because there's so much information online. You can Google like 13.4 North Node and something will come up.
It'll come up.
Yeah, yeah. So let's quickly end with your channels. So again, channels are when two gates connect two centers and there is a full in colored line, and you have 3 channels. This is very consistent energy that you have, and you can use it to your advantage. Or not, right? Because some of it is unconscious. So it's the things that can kind of run us. Maybe it's the shadow at sometimes. So you've got the channel of concentration, which is gate 9, the gate of focus, and gate 52, which is the gate of stillness. This is the energy of the root center. The root is at the very bottom. It really is the thing that gives us the power, you know, that gets us going. It's the energy of focus, for focus and concentration or not. So when the pulse is on, you got to go, you got to get stuff done when you feel it. When it's off, it's going to feel really challenging for you to turn it on.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
And just knowing, okay, it's here, I got to go. And just like,
you got to go for it.
Be self-aware and just ride it. And then when the pulse is off, I can't force it. The pulse is off.
Yeah.
So taking the things you've learned, and it's taking the logical, the things that you've learned, and bringing it up to your throat. It's bringing it up towards your throat center in order to express it. So learning and doing repeatedly, consistently, so that patterns can be established as a collective behavior.
Wow.
So it's like you doing your own experimenting.
Yeah.
As a way energetically to bring like establish patterns for the collective. So I think that's really kind of cool. And I think what I intuitively get is like that pulse piece is really important for you, that on or off piece, because when you feel on, it works so well with your generator of being lit up and responding. You're going to be like on fire. I really feel like part of the reason for this channel is almost to show through by example, you know, to go, like when it's right, and then to step back and to give yourself permission to do so and to rest. I don't know if rest is an issue for you or not, but sometimes, or maybe it has been. Okay. Yeah, because the 950. I was wanting to see if it was on.
I tend to go so much. And then I reach the point of burnt out. Yeah. And then if we're like, I need to do something, I'm just so exhausted to do that thing that maybe I'm supposed to do or not, you know.
Right. It's all tied in with your generator, but also that channel of concentration. You can really like the gate of focus and then the gate of stillness. So it's like, I'm focused, I'm going all in, or no, I need to retreat. That's just part of your consistent energy. It's just part of your being, your way of being.
And it's been a huge huge lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we've got the channel of judgment, which is the
Mhm.
1858. My husband has this too, because you guys have the same birthday, different years, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you got this. So we've got
Shout out to Scott.
yeah, shout out to Scott. The gate 18 is the gate of correction, and gate 58 is the gate of vitality. So this is almost like a channel of knowing what others should do,
Mm.
but needing, and almost feeling frustrated sometimes, because you're like, I know how to do this. Like I have the answer, and other people maybe not always being ready for it or receptive of it.
Yeah.
So it's purely projected. It's a purely projected channel, meaning it serves best when others ask for it.
Wow.
So you're offering something like some sort of guidance or feedback for somebody. It's potentially at sometimes cannot be received well.
Yeah.
If you are best served when somebody asks for what, this is why what you do is perfect, because somebody's asking for you for your wisdom, and you give it, and that means it's received really well. The impact, because you are, tapping into that energy of yours, is going to be received really well. So just it's almost like it's almost like, it feels a bit frustrating for me. And I see this in my, like, as I'm tapping into your energy, and I see this in my husband so often, because he's like, but I know. And sometimes it's almost like, if I need it, I'll ask, right?
So
I don't know.
Like, shut up.
No, I don't mean it like that, but it's very intuitive.
No, I know. Yeah.
It's intuitive, and it's an energetic ability to make things correct.
Yeah.
To make things right, in order to get to the vitality, in order to really express joy.
Yeah, but it's true. One of my
your things.
Yeah, one of my triggers is if somebody doesn't understand what I'm trying to say, I get frustrated. Yeah.
You know what I've learned though, because you have an undefined throat, as do I. So I only have two undefined, my throat and my identity, which is right underneath. The one right in the middle is identity, and then the throat is right above it. These are the only two open I have, and you have that too. So what I learned about having an open throat is it's a gift. It's something that we're here to learn how to express, right? But because we don't have consistent energy, we don't have anything going up to the throat.
Yeah.
So we don't have consistent energy. So the timing, we have to be really careful of the timing, and we have to be careful when we, and I think I might have shared this on a past episode, as somebody with an open throat, when you don't have the words or you can't get it out right, it's not the time, or you're not supposed to talk about it at all. It's really important that people with an open throat know this.
Yeah.
And it's about being super impactful with the right people, because they're seeking it out, and potentially triggering to people that aren't seeking it. Yeah. So that I feel that frustration too, because if somebody doesn't understand me, I feel like I have to explain myself, and it almost ticks me off a little bit. Like, I know that I have this thing with my husband, and I'll get ticked off, and he'll get ticked off, because he's like, I don't know why you're explaining yourself. But I just feel like, oh, well, if you understood me, then you would understand that. So I'm trying to explain it to you, but it's just almost like it's not happening. Like, the message is not meant to be shared. It's for us to know. And you can see how that would lead to frustration, which is you're 100%. Not
100%.
That's how this is all connected. These things, when you're not self, will be connected to all of these, and your aligned self. It holds the guidance for both. So it just says, you know what to do. If you know what to do, you're intuitive, you know really what's best for the collective for the most part, but it's like holding your tongue, knowing that you'll be most impactful when you are recognized and asked for guidance.
Yeah, when the right time. When is the right time?
I have this channel too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Then finally, we got the channel of recognition. We got gate 30, the gate of feelings, gate 41, the gate of contraction. This is the energy of fantasy and desire, which is interesting. This is the energy that starts the year. and it's very creative.
Yeah.
And it breeds motivation. It's the difference between thinking and doing.
Mm-hmm.
But this channel is about taking action on a goal and dream. But it requires the right timing. This is also perfect. This must be a generator gate as well, because it's burnout is rooted here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like a go, go, go. I got it. I know what to do. I'm ready. I'm motivated.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see how they're all connected with the timing, because the other one was the timing of being recognized and sharing your voice. Timing is something that's really important for you, Erin.
Yeah.
This channel needs to be used.
And it's
correctly.
true. Just in like a very intuitive, from also a higher self.
Yeah, like look how this ties in the other ones. It's a difference between thinking and doing. The channel is about taking action on a goal and a dream. But burnout is rooted here, and this channel needs to be used correctly. It requires the right timing to express itself correctly. It is important to wait for clarity before acting.
Yeah.
So you're waiting to respond, emotional clarity.
Yeah.
Timing is right. Timing is right. I'm waiting to respond. Somebody's seeking me out. Somebody's booking a reading. Okay, good. They need my guidance. I can help them. What you're doing is perfect. Yeah. Really. I feel very much intuitively like the desire at like an energetic level to be recognized, because you do have all this intuitive wisdom. Like I know how to help you, but it really needs to be in the right place at the right time with the right people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and that could also be why sometimes in readings, right, things don't, somebody wants an answer but it doesn't come through.
Yeah.
And it could just be because it's not the right time for that person, or I'm not meant to give that information, right? Yeah.
Which is kind of how you intuitively interpret it anyways.
Yeah.
But I think it's really cool how those channels really tie in. I have many more I don't know how many channels I have, but I have at least 10.
Wow.
And it might be just because I have way more defined energy there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you found this interesting or not, but
1,000 and
okay, good. I find
30
it
something.
I could talk about it for like 5 more hours, because I could get into every gate and everything. It's so amazing. But takeaways from this.
Yeah.
Your type, so like generator, manifesting generator, manifestor, projector, reflector, important to know, simply because then it will give you your authority, right? And it will give you your strategy. So to recap, to wait for the wait to respond for us generators and manifesting generators, to inform as a manifestor, to be invited as a projector, and then the full lunar circle for the cycle for the reflector.
Yeah.
And then also really just, I'm going to point it out for those of you guys that do this on your own and you're on the body graph, on the chart properties where it's got all that information, you'll see where it says not self keynotes, not self questions. These are things that you might want to think about. So when we're in our not self, it means, we're not in our aligned self. We're not tapping into our innate energy. And so this has a lot to do with conditioning. So for Erin, one of the not self questions is, because she's got an undefined heart, do I think I have something to prove? She's got an open, undefined, I think it's ajna, I think it's pronounced. It's like, there's the head, and then I think the is almost like the third eye or the mind. Am I trying to convince myself that I'm certain? For throat, am I trying to attract attention? For G, which is identity, am I looking for direction and love? You and I both have this open identity. For people with an open identity center, we can almost sometimes we can take on, we're really here to understand ourselves and figure out who we are. Right. But can be really easily influenced by others and by energy. So because of that, if you know that, really important that if you're kind of somebody that might take on qualities of the people that you're around all the time, then make sure you're around people that you actually want to be like and mimic. make sure you want to like surround yourself by the people that you really admire, because you will absorb that energy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's very true.
It's very, me too. It's very true.
Yeah.
And I noticed it through my earlier years, especially in relationships, where it's like all of my interests or whatever would change depending on what boyfriend I had. And then I look back and I'm like, what was that? And it's not a bad thing. It's part of the process of figuring out like, who am I
All
and
the learning.
what works for me. But it's something to be mindful of as somebody with an open identity. And also to not, it's part of our work here to kind of, I intuitively feel it's part of our work here to know that we're already whole, because somebody that has an open identity might be looking for their other half, be really focused on love and direction and like somebody to make us whole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really, really, look at this. Am I trying to answer everybody else's questions? That's the open head. Right? It's
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So I think it's interesting. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to
No, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope you've learned something. It'd be really cool if you want to share, like we'll put some information out on the Instagram page once this episode airs on the weekend, and then maybe we'll do a poll and be like, hey, like what's your type, or like, you know, things like that would be interesting.
Things like that.
Yeah, I really want to see if there's any more reflectors out there listening to us, because
let us know too if you did your human design and you would like to share. Please let us know.
Let us know. We want to know.
Yeah.
And yeah, if there's anything you want, if there's any questions you have about the things that I've talked about today, shoot us a DM.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, a card. I know we want to be quick because you've got to.
Yes, I have to hop off.
You have to hop off. Yeah, so let's do this quick.
Okay.
Sorry I talked so long.
No, I loved it.
Okay.
This was great. Like I hope others also really enjoyed this. I think you will. I think they will. So I think it's cool.
Another level of understanding. That's all of this is about, is understanding.
Well, I love that, right?
Yeah, and if there's tools that will help you, these are just guidelines, right? But if just the awareness, I feel like, will help you understand yourself better. There's no, like, what's the harm of going, hey, I'm gonna like try out my my inner authority of waiting for emotional clarity. Nothing is going to bad come out of that.
No.
Just see if it works for you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, this card's making a lot of sense for me.
Oh, this is cool. Okay. So what deck are you using, Amy?
The Moonology Manifestation Oracle cards.
I also decided to oracle card it. To use oracle cards. I'm using the Oracle of Mystical Moments, which I really like. The images are really dreamlike. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
You go first. Yeah.
Okay. I love this. So, which is interesting because this is exactly what we're talking about. Well, this is all transformation. Okay, it's a card that came out. The key words with it, and I'm reading from the little book it comes with, is process, identity, which is cool, seeking answers.
Cool.
Right? And it says, a woman is dressed in a red polka dot dress. The upper part has already begun the process of transforming into a butterfly.
Oh, you see that on the card.
Right? It's really beautiful. Is the butterfly a part of her body? Is it a symbol of her soul? Is the woman transforming into a new life? This card leaves us with more questions than answers. Maybe you will find answers by thinking about how you would respond to these questions.
Oh, Erin.
Get out of town. I'm getting goosebumps. Am I the person I would like to be? What can I do right now to transform some small parts of myself? So this is really cool because we're talking about human design. We're talking about understanding the self. And I just feel like, one, I can, on a personal level, relate with this card. But I also feel like timing is everything, as we, talked about. And I feel like maybe people, spring is in the air, right? which is all about new beginnings, transformation, right? And so I feel like maybe people are also collectively looking for answers themselves on a more deeper and perhaps even spiritual level. So I think that's really cool.
Amazing. I pulled, like I said, from the Moonology Manifestation deck. I've got the last quarter moon in Aries. It's interesting that you brought up spring because, I mean, we're getting close to Aries. Pisces is ending in the next week or, two. And Aries, is when the spring was, when we're in spring. This has worked through your feelings. So this absolutely resonates with me for this week. I've been feeling a lot of overwhelming, intense energy. A lot of stuff happening, collective inner energy, as well as in the planets. Feels overwhelming. It feels intense. There's a focus on your feelings. And so I also feel like this can be tied into the topic that we're talking about today, because we talked about, potential conditioning and like potential, like, is this mine? Is this somebody else? Is this my conditioning? Understanding yourself, taps into this too. So this is just really calling us out to spend more time working on our feelings. This is such a huge thing from me this week. I just did a live about this yesterday. And the thing that came up for us is, there's all this transformative kind of energy around collectively, and we're all kind of rising. We are all kind of rising. And the more work you do on yourself, the more awareness you have, or if you're just a naturally energy sensitive kind of person, I feel like you're going to feel this energy amplified a bit at times of, collective unease. But to think of yourself like a channel, like a radio, to allow the feelings to just pass through you as if you are that channel or that radio, not like, is this mine? Like, is this, what am I doing wrong? Like that's like a lot of the messaging I've been getting when I posted the post the other day about how I was feeling. People are like, I honestly felt like I was taking a few steps back because I was going back to my, comfort zone. I felt like I was going back, right? And I honestly feel like it's nothing really that we're doing right now, but obviously, like, have some discernment. What's coming up for you? Something that came up yesterday in a live was about judgment, and that seems to be a theme right now. And so I just ask you, I'll leave you with this. What does judgment feel like in your body? Do you recognize when you're starting to judge someone, something, yourself? Because judging is really just to make something separate than you, and it really is human nature. But I also feel like it goes against what we're moving towards. And so feelings of judgment and separateness just feel really intolerable and uncomfortable right now. So just allow the stuff to release. Just let it go. Holding on to stuff right now is just inviting it to stay. Another really cool thing I wanted to end with is I truly feel like we are skipping timelines right now. And I feel like the more people that are feeling this, okay, if we're all feeling it and we're all like, okay, intuitively, like there's something coming up about judgment, or there's something coming up about separateness, or my old junk that I've been carrying around forever. And if you're feeling it and you work through it, imagine the impact of that.
That's true. It's true.
So it just feels, something that I got yesterday was like, you can do this in 10 years. You can do this in 30 years. You can do this in your next 3 lifetimes, or you can do it right now. And I'm just like, I'll take that one, please. I don't want to do it again. So it just feels like we can almost like erase those future challenges and life lessons, maybe.
I totally agree. There's this huge shift.
There's a lot of, I keep hearing personal responsibility over and over and over again. And I feel like I don't want to like call anybody out. It might be triggering to somebody. It's triggering to me, and as I'm saying it, but it's almost like,
but it's true. Sometimes,
really,
sometimes we need a little kick in the butt.
Right. Like, how are you holding yourself back? Because I feel like there's a lot of personal judgment happening here.
It's true. And there's only going to continue to be judgment.
And it's going to continue to come up in you, and it's going to continue to demand to be felt and let go of.
Yep. Yeah.
Now's the time. And Aries is so intense and fiery. It's I don't know, is it called the astrological new year? I feel like, I mean, just because it's the first, I don't know.
Maybe, I
It's
don't
the
know.
first
Yeah.
sign, it's number one. Pisces is the last. I don't know, but it
Yeah.
feels like that. It feels like that to me. It feels like we are standing on the cusp of something new.
Mm.
And the fire image is good as well, because it's making me feel like almost like when you write something on a paper and you burn it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting to, like release.
Release it.
Don't carry it with you anymore. Yeah, release it.
And that's a good exercise, actually, just in itself, is write what you want to release, and you can burn it in a very safe,
in a mason
way.
jar or something. I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
In a mason jar. Yeah.
You could bury it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Choose to not hold that.
Release it.
Release
I
it.
think the main thing I want to say about feelings and emotions is just we need to stop judging ourselves for how we feel about things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
We internalize everything. Everything.
Yeah.
It's just moving through you. We don't have to internalize it.
Go with it.
Yeah.
Go with it.
And also, like, sometimes the clarity, I think sometimes we like try to make sense of it in the moment, like while we're in the thick of it, and we're like, what's the lesson here? What am I supposed to learn here? And we're like we're almost forcing, like, what is it?
Yeah.
It will come to you after. Like, it will come. It comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Always. We don't have to seek the answer. We just have to trust it will come. Maybe with that extra long episode, I don't even know.
Drop. Very good.
Long, but
okay. This was so nice. Thank you so much, Amy. I really, really, really appreciated it. And I hope everybody else listening appreciates as well, which I'm sure you do. I hope you guys have a really good rest of your weekend.
Happy weekend. Almost.
Happy weekend. Yeah. Happy week. Whenever this airs. Happy days.
In a couple days. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening. Take care, guys.
If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and tune in each week as we dish on all things spiritual.